The city of Kazan, the capital of the Republic of Tatarstan, is located practically in the center of the European part of Russia. The indigenous inhabitants of both Kazan and the Republic of Tatarstan are Tatars, who are predominantly Muslim. For centuries, they have lived side by side with both Slavic Russians and various Finno-Ugric peoples. This example of peaceful coexistence of people of different faiths in the heart of the European part of Russia is unique. The peoples living side by side have had a cultural influence on each other. As a result, Islam here, I would say, is Europeanized. At least it's very different from what you see in the North Caucasus. I was born in a city that is just over 120 kilometers from Kazan. My best student friend was a Tatar. I didn't see any particular significant differences in culture, behavior, and arrangement of his apartment. When entering the apartment, the first thing that caught my eye was that instead of an Orthodox icon, there was a prayer from the Quran. During my last visit, I asked my friend specifically for this video to show what other Islamic paraphernalia he has at home.
Казанский, видно, Поволжского региона. Запылилось так.
But let's return to our visit to the center of Kazan, the Kazan Kremlin, which was built in the 16th century. The Kazan Kremlin is the most striking example of how people, regardless of religion, can eventually find common ground and live in peace, regardless of ethnic or religious differences. Here, within the Kremlin, you can see mosques standing side by side with Orthodox churches. The city of Kazan was founded in the early 10th century. It was one of the cities of Volga, Bulgaria. For the 13th, 15th century, the city was attacked, destroyed, and ruined by the Mongols several times. During those centuries, Tatarstan, together with Kazan, became part of the vast Mongol Empire. In the 16th century, the city of Kazan was in the sphere of interest of the Russian kingdom. In the 16th century, Kazan was taken by the troops of Ivan the Terrible, and the fortress was destroyed. The Kremlin was built in place of the old fortifications. In addition, several Orthodox churches were built, which neighbored the Khan's mosque and palace. In the 7th century, after a fire, the towers and walls of the Kremlin were erected from stone. The city of Kazan became an international city. Centuries passed, Tsars and empires replaced each other. One thing remained unchanged. Tatars Muslims continued to live without conflicts with Slavic Russians and other Finno-Ugric peoples. Nowadays, the diamond of the Kazan Kremlin and its dominant feature is the Kul Sharif Mosque, the construction of which was started in 1996 and finished in 2005. This mosque looks simply incredible. When you are near it, you get the impression that you are in a fairy tale 1001 Nights. Therefore, it's not surprising that it is visited by a huge number of tourists every year. At the mosque there is a museum of Islamic culture, which I visited with my son. Speaking about Kazan in general, it has changed a lot during my last visit. I remember it in the city of the late 90s, gloomy, dirty in some places, and in some places unsafe because of street crime. To be honest, in those years, most Russian cities were a very sad sight. In the 2000s, many Russian cities began to slowly transform. The most significant changes in many cities, in my opinion, began to occur in the early 2010s. Many streets and courtyards of apartment buildings began to be improved, cozy cafes opened, pedestrian streets appeared. Similar changes affected Kazan. As a result, Kazan has changed dramatically. Now it is a beautiful city, enjoying great popularity of tourists. Now Kazan in Russia is even called the third capital of Russia after Moscow and St. Petersburg.
Она обычная белая футболка, и она из Надежды, она годами